Age is a dumb thing to let control you. It's our thinking that controls everything. School doesn't teach us. Our parents don't teach us. You go to work for a company, they don't teach you. That's why brilliant people are broke. Brilliant people are unhappy. Brilliant people never really accomplish very much.
If you want to think and grow rich on every area of your life, then this video with Bob Proctor is your ticket.
Now you said, I think at 26 or 27, that's when you started to wake up, or you started to have some type of awareness about yourself, the world, the universe, life. What happened when you started to wake up?
It was dramatic what happened. I was on the fire department in a suburb of Toronto, and there was a man near there who became a friend of mine. He was a friend of a lot of people. I just was fortunate enough to meet him, Ray Stanford. He gave me a copy of Think and Grow Rich, and he said, Bob, did you ever read anything? And I said, no, I can't read. Now, that wasn't true. I could. I found out I read about as well as most people. I think the average person reads at about a grade 7 level. And they learn to read by the time grade 7, and then they never improve upon it from that point on. But he said, if you do exactly what I tell you and read this book every day, you can have anything you want. Well, I was unhappy, I was sick, I was broke, and you can have anything you want. I thought it was nonsense. But he said something else. He said, listen, my way's working, yours isn't. He was happy, healthy, and wealthy. The guy always had money on him. And big, healthy guy. And he said, you're unhappy, sick, and broke. So he said, I must know something you don't know. Why the hell don't you do what I tell you? Well, I think something clicked. Now, people had tried to reach me. I was 26 since I was a kid, and none of them ever did. And so I started to do what he suggested. And he said, what do you really want? Well, all I wanted was some money. I was earning $4,000 a year at the time, and I owed $6,000. So, if I had paid everything I earned for 18 months, I would have just broken even. Wow. It was an impossible situation. And I was just looking at what was. I couldn't see beyond that, so that's what made it impossible. And he said, listen, write what you want on a card. Now, I got a gold card in my pocket. I've carried one ever since. He said, write what you want on the card. You can have anything you want. So he said, what do you really want? And I said, I want some money. I figured if I had enough money, all my problems would go away. Everybody, I was getting the phone, where's the money? They were always after me, people I owed money to. So I wrote that I wanted to have $25,000. And now, if I had got together all the people I know, or knew at that time, and put all their money together, we wouldn't have come up with $25,000. We probably wouldn't have come up with $1,000. It was an enormous amount of money. It was nuts. So I wrote that in the card. He said, you got to read it every day. And he'd keep saying, did you read it? Did you read it? So he got me reading it. And
reading the book or reading the card?
No, read the gold card.
The card,
read the gold
$25,000.
Just a gold card. Read the gold card. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have $25,000. And I learned something very important from it. All I thought about prior to that was debt. Because people are always phoning me, when are you going to pay me? If you think about debt, you're going to be in debt forever.
Yeah.
You become what you think about. Well, this gold card got me thinking about earning money. I never thought of earning money before. I thought about debt all the time. And it got me thinking of earning money. So I started to hear people talking about earning money. And because I heard them talking about it, it got me thinking about it. And some guy said, there's good money cleaning floors. I said, I'm not proud, I'll clean floors. I was prepared to do anything. I wanted to earn this money. I said, I wanted to earn money. So I started to clean one office. And by the end of the year, I was earning $14,500 a month.
What?
I was on the fire department. The chief was only earning $11,500 a year.
Wow.
I was earning $14,500. This was in a year from the start. I started to clean one office. It was Canada Starch. I'd wash the floor twice a month, $15 a time. I got $30. Then I got another one, Kirby's Construction. I got $65 a month. Well, do you know, in less than 5 years, I was cleaning my office in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. Things going like a rocket. And I was listening to Earl Nightingale's recordings. I was listening to, or reading Think and Grow Rich. And every cleaner, I had them studying the same stuff I was studying. Well, none of us knew much about cleaning floors. We just did a good job. We cleaned. But if somebody asked me what I was doing, I'd say I was cleaning offices. It was almost incidental to what I was doing. I could have been selling siding for houses.
Didn't matter.
It was what I was studying, what I was doing with it. I was getting the other people to study it. And I was very irresponsible. I was earning all this money. I was earning well over $1 million a year. I was living in London. I'd go down to the Playboy Club on Park Lane, play roulette. I didn't even care if I lost, and I hardly ever did. I almost always won. I seemed to know where the money was. And one day I thought, this isn't very responsible. I don't know what the hell triggered it in my mind. And I thought, how did this happen? And I didn't know. I didn't know how my life had changed so dramatically, but it had changed dramatically and in a short time. I'd been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you got to be really smart. I knew I wasn't very smart, but I was earning a lot of money, so I thought that's not true. I was raised to believe if you're going to get a good job, you got to go to school. Well, I hadn't gone to school. I didn't have a good job. I owned the whole company.
Right.
So I thought that's not true. So I started to wonder about all the things that I believed. Are they true? They're not true. And so then I had to know what happened, and I couldn't find out. It took me 9.5 years to figure out what I actually did.
How you got to where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were talking prior to starting this about mentors. I believe they're essential in life. And as I look back, I have been fortunate enough to study with some absolutely brilliant people. I mean, giants. And any success I've enjoyed is because I've had great direction.
Wow.
And starting with the first one, he says, do exactly what I tell you until you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's sort of a rule I followed. When I pick a person that I'm going to choose as a mentor, I do exactly what they tell me until I find out they're lying or they don't know what they're talking about. And they don't lie, and they do know what they're talking about. So I've had great instruction in my life. And it works.
Wow. Who's the most memorable mentor for you?
Well, Ray Stanford, first of all, but they're all very all very important.
Different ways.
Earl Nightingale, huge. I started to study his recordings, and then I wanted to work with him. And I saw where he had distributors, and so I became a distributor. And I left my business. I was prepared to pay them to let me work there. I wanted to work with him because I knew if I could work with him, I could watch him, and I'd see what he did, and I'd get to think what he's thinking, and because he was a giant in my mind. I mean, Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant literally started personal development as we know it today in recorded fashion, and he started on this Strangest Secret record. So he was really huge. But I studied with Bill Gove, who was a great speaker, Val Vanderwall, Dr. Roeder. I've had just phenomenal mentors. Most of them people, you wouldn't really recognize their names, but they were giants at what they did.
Do you remember having big dreams as a kid? Or did you just always think you would amount to nothing, you were a loser? And...
I never had any dreams when I was a kid. I think the area I grew up in, we were so poor, things were so rough. But you got to remember, that was during the Great Depression in the 30s. I mean, there's not too many people alive that lived through that anymore. And we didn't have dreams. We just, get by was the deal.
Right.
Now, when I started to read Think and Grow Rich, I was 26. That's when I started to really dream. And
what do you think is the most powerful principle in the book? Obviously, there's a lot of them. For you, what's the thing that stood out?
There's a number of them, but imagination is, and I had learned, see, I was studying many things at the same time. Our higher faculties, school teaches nothing about them. Many seminars don't teach you much about them. We talk about you becoming what you think about, but you've got to go further than that. Most people live through their senses because we're programmed to do that. Literally, we're programmed genetically and then environmentally to go by what we hear, see, smell, taste, touch. But I have a dog at home that can hear, see, smell, taste, touch. All animal life operates through senses. we've been created in God's image. We have these higher faculties. We are creative beings, literally. We have perception, the will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. They're the faculties that make us separate from everything else. Like, all the other little creatures on the planet are completely at home in their environment. We're the only creature that's totally disoriented in our environment. And that's because we've been given the faculties to create our own environment.
Right.
But we've never been taught how to use them. Now, we teach that in our company. We teach how to develop your perception, the will. You change your perception, you change your life.
Yeah.
You know, and the will. When John Kennedy asked Dr. Werner von Braun what it would take to build a rocket that would carry a person to the moon, bring him back safely to Earth, von Braun said, he answered him in 5 words. He said, the will to do it. Now, many people would hear that and don't really understand what he said. The ability to hold that picture on the screen of your mind and nothing else, because the will is what gives you the ability to concentrate. Energy flows to and through you. Through concentration, you increase the amplitude of vibration when the energy leaves you. That's how absentee healing's done, through the will. You know, a practitioner will hold the idea, and they'll have the subject relax, be very quiet. They transfer that thought right into the person's subjective mind, and so it affects the body.
Yeah.
Well, the will is very important. So we've got to understand these things, you know. Intuition. I can walk by a person and, like, I could tell, as soon as I walked in the room, I knew exactly what you're like. You operate, you probably studied this, but you operate from almost evenly between the right and left hemisphere of your brain. You've got an interesting mix in your personality.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, but,
Sure.
you know, I could feel that. You're almost an even balance between the two. And, you know, as I say that, I'm trying to figure you're more one than the other, and I don't think you are. Well, your intuition will do that, because your intuition is a mental faculty that picks up vibration and translates it in your mind. It's through intuition that you get answers to your questions. Like, you asked a question, the opposite side of question is an answer. It's the equal and opposite side. So our answer comes with our question, but we're not tuned in to pick it up, you know. Like, every question is an answer. Well, the imagination, of course, it's everything.
Yeah.
So you get these higher faculties and you get using them, and I started to learn how to use these. And I started to see that we've got so much going for us that we never hear about. School doesn't teach us. Our parents don't teach us. You go to work for a company, they don't teach you. So the odds of learning it are really slim, you know. And it's the reason there's so few people that really are successful in life. There's all kinds of material around in success. My goodness, there's more around today than there's ever been.
Yeah.
Self-help books are, you know, top of the bestsellers list.
They're crushing, yeah.
You know, in 1968, when I first started to study this, you had Norman Vincent Peale's Power of Positive Thinking, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. It was a few books, you know, Think and Grow Rich, but there weren't that many. Today, there's thousands of them.
Yeah. People need it because they don't know how to use the tools that we have.
But they don't know how to use the information that's in the books.
And a time under crisis and worry and fear for a lot of people, what should we be thinking about? How should we be using our imagination in different ways as opposed to fixating on the bad news?
Well, I think a good idea right now would be spend some time thinking about how are we going to adapt when this is gone?
Yeah.
Because we're going to live in a different world. We're not going to be in the same world when this is all blown over than we're in right now. It's going to be quite different.
Yeah.
People are not going to be rushing out to big events where there's a lot of people. They're not going to be rushing to restaurants. I think they're going to be very careful about what they do, where they think, and where they're going. I was listening to Seneca, and he said, if you're a public speaker, don't look for a stage for a little while because you're not going to have one.
Yeah.
Now, this also presents great opportunities. It's for us, for my company, we're going online, full speed ahead. Now, fortunately, we built the studio 4 or 5 years ago, so
you're prepared.
We're equipped and we're ready.
Yeah.
We can broadcast. We had a training class going in here just last week with about 300 of our consultants from all over the world. We had a 3-day training program for them, and it was very effective.
Online.
We didn't have to come together.
Yeah.
We did it from right here.
Yeah. I mean, you're known for doing these powerful transformational workshops in person. So for someone, I mean, it's very inspiring for me, for someone at your age, where would be the excuse of most people your age to say, well, I don't understand this technology thing, and I've been doing this way of business for so long. It's always worked this way, and I'm not going to try to reinvent or evolve and pivot and grow in this way. So it's really inspiring to see someone of your age with your level of experience to say, you know what, I'm embracing it. Maybe I don't like it. Maybe you do like it, but you're embracing it and making the most of it as opposed to resisting. Because what happens when we start to resist in our life? What truly happens?
Well, we resist it. We create it in our mind. That's all we think about. You see, I guess my age really has nothing to do with it, but I formed that attitude a long time ago.
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea that when you've lived for so long, you've got to cut out, you've got to stop. I thought, hell, I don't like that idea at all. First of all, I think I believe we're here to do God's work. God's work is creation, expansion, fuller expression, greater goodness. And if we're going to do that, we're going to be working at it all the time we're here on this planet. We never stop. So age should have no bearing on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of people ask me when we started to build this place, we put a couple of $1 million into this, and somebody said, how old are you? And I think I was probably 83 when they started to break ground. They said, you're 83 and you're going to spend $2 million building a studio? And I said, yeah, why not? I mean, you see, we let things that really have no concern, we let them bother us, we let them control us. Age is a dumb thing to let control you. It's our thinking that controls everything. That's the one point every great leader agreed on. We become what we think about. Well, what's a person thinking? I'm thinking if I get old, I got to stop. Well, then you'll stop. Or I'm thinking, well, if I've been here a long time, I've got a lot of experience. I want to utilize that experience to keep me going as long as I am here. I mean, anybody had their head screwed on right a few years ago would know that this thing's going to take over.
Yeah.
And if we don't learn how to use it, we're toast. So, I was doing seminars on my iPad because I can run it right onto a monitor and out through to the universe.
Yeah. What should we be thinking about the most right now in your mind?
I think we should be thinking about our future. I think we should be thinking about the greatness, like it's the school of greatness. I think we ought to be thinking about the greatness that we've got locked up within us and bring it to the surface. Everyone has deep reservoirs of talent and ability within them, and they can bring it to the surface to accomplish anything they want. Now, to sit in fear and wonder what's going to happen, that is a dumb waste of your talent and your time.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's what most of the media is promoting right now. To believe in fear is to believe in something you can't see. To believe in faith is to believe in something you can't see. Well, if you have a choice, I think I'd choose faith over fear.
Absolutely.
I think I believe where I can really see something happen. I believe we're going to have a phenomenal year in our company.
Wow.
In fact, I have business partner, Sandy Gallagher, and a very bright lady, was a securities attorney prior to joining us. She ran a program this morning for our entire company. We have about 70 people in the company. She was teaching masterminding to them all and saying how this is important, that every one of us get involved in this. that we learn the basics of masterminding that Napoleon Hill brought to the world, let's say, way back in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think that's what we should be teaching people. Sandy was on the right track there. So I think we ought to be thinking about what we're going to build. How big are we going to do it? Where are we going to do it? When are we going to start? Our goals have not changed. They're very big. They're very ambitious. And we're not letting this virus slow us down one bit.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we're trying to figure out how can we use this to speed it up.
Mm-hmm. There
It's
you go.
a chair and you can't get rid of it. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
There is a way we can use it to our advantage. People are more dependent upon the phone. I've got a computer here. They're dependent on their phone, their computer, more than they've ever been. We can reach them anywhere in the world through those mediums.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, use them to your advantage. You talked about fear for a second. I'm curious, when we live in a state of fear, what does that do to us? And the second part to this, when we feel that fear and we become aware of it, what should we be thinking or doing or acting on in order to shift into a more positive state?
You know, that is one hell of a good question. And it's a question most people are not able to answer.
Mm.
First of all, the cause of fear is ignorance. That is the cause of fear. And so if you follow the ignorance, it doesn't start out as fear. The ignorance starts out in a conscious level as doubt and worry.
Mm-hmm.
That's on a conscious level. We're doubting or we're worrying. Then we take whatever image comes into our consciousness of the doubt and the worry, and we turn it over to our emotional mind. That's what causes the fear. Well, that fear then has to be expressed through the body, through the only instrument it can be expressed through, our physical body. It sets up a vibration known as anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Anxiety is not expressed. Anxiety becomes suppressed.
Ooh.
We suppress it. And the suppression then turns to depression, which turns to disease, which turns to decay. You see, you're talking about a track a person gets on. It's a very negative track. It's ignorance, don't worry, fear, anxiety, suppression, depression, disease, disintegration. Now, the polar opposite of all that, the opposite of ignorance is knowledge.
Mm.
There's only one way to get to knowledge, and that is to study.
Mm.
Now, unfortunately, school didn't do the job that it was designed to do for most of us. Mm-hmm. School should teach us to love to study.
Mm.
That's really what it should teach.
Not to dread studying and homework
No.
and tests.
They should teach us to love it. Yeah. Because study leads to the opposite of doubt and worry, which is understanding. See, it's study that leads to understanding. We understand how to handle the fear. Mm. It's understanding that enables us to cause us to understand where the fear starts. The understanding, then we want to say, what do we understand? We want to understand this whole universe operates by law. Mm. One of the laws is the law of opposite. The opposite of doubt and worry is understanding. Mm. Now, if the doubt and worry leads to fear, what's understanding leads to? Understanding leads to faith. The faith leads to expression, well-being, and expression. It's not depression. Mm. It's not suppression. It's not anxiety. The faith leads to well-being. The well-being then is expression, acceleration, because we're at ease. There's not disease. So you're dealing with polar opposites. There's two different sides to things. And when we understand that, our world starts to change. It's by understanding that we learn how to deal with these pandemics when they hit. Mm-hmm. And they will hit. There will be others. There always has been, all down through history. If you look back, there's been things like this happen in the past. And unfortunately, the masses are sort of paralyzed by it.
Yeah.
And as a people, we add to that paralysis by feeding them more of what scares them. What we should be doing is helping them understand what the hell's going on.
Why do we do that as people? Why do we feed people more of what scares them as opposed to what you and I do, which is
Because
try
that's
to be
what people
solution?
want. That's
Why?
what they buy. People
Why?
don't buy good news. People buy bad news.
Why though?
Can you imagine if everybody that tunes into CNN tuned into the School of Greatness every week?
It'd be amazing.
Can you imagine if everybody that tunes into Fox tuned into your School of Greatness every week? Have you any idea the impact you could have on the world?
That's what we're trying to do.
It'd be enormous. It'd be enormous.
Yeah.
People want bad news. It resonates with where their mind is programmed. They're programmed with negative information.
Mm.
Their paradigm is all bad news. It's what we're programmed with. Now, is everybody? No. There's a small select group of people that don't fall into that category. And they are always working diligently trying to lift everybody up. It's not an easy thing to do. But every once in a while, a Lewis Howes will come along and start a School of Greatness, and he'll call in different people that feed into that concept, that are in harmony with that resonate with that. And so it makes it interesting for the listener. And that's how it goes.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's not a losing battle. It just appears like it is. I'm winning.
Yeah.
I think you're winning. Now, we're not drawing the numbers that CNN's drawing, but the ones we draw are saying, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
got it.
I want to talk about money for a moment because you mentioned how you were making $4,000 something dollars a year. Your expenses were $6,000, I think, something
Yeah.
like that. And then you started making
No,
$14,000.
my expenses wasn't $6,000. I owed $6,000.
You owed $6,000.
I owed everybody that I knew.
And you were making around $14,000 a year after that, shortly after
No,
that.
I went from earning
A month, so a
$4,000 a year to $14,500 a month.
Exactly.
Now, if you annualize that, that was $175 a year. So I went from earning $4,000 a year to $175. I hadn't earned $175 that year. I got it up to $14,500 a month. So if you annualize
got
it,
it.
that's a change. Phenomenal change.
Is it possible for anyone to go from poverty level to extremely
Absolutely.
financially successful?
Absolutely. I think earning money is one of the simplest things I ever learned. And it's one of the most misunderstood things. Wealthy people historically have always had multiple sources of income. They don't have one. They have many.
Yeah.
I was cleaning floors. I thought the answer was work harder. Because I really wanted to earn some money.
Yeah, of course.
And I thought it was all important. Today, my attitude towards money has changed dramatically. But I thought the answer was get another office to clean. Well, I was working so hard, I passed out on the street. I would have been maybe 27, 28. I literally passed out on the street. I was working so hard. I came to, and there's a great big cop looking at me. I was laying there. It was scary. There was a group of people around me. I saw lights flashing. Then I saw a couple of guys in uniform with a stretcher. And it was scary. I had passed out. I guess they thought I had dropped dead. I had a heck of a time getting away from them, but I did get away. They didn't take me in the hospital. I talked them out of it. And I got away, and I got thinking, I'm not doing this right.
Mm-hmm. Working harder, working more hours is not the way.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, Napoleon Hill wrote that in Think and Grow Rich. He said, if you are one of those people who believe that hard work and honesty alone will bring riches, perish the thought, it is not true. Riches, when they come in huge quantities, never come as a result of hard work. They come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles and not by chance or luck. So you got to find a demand and fill it, but you got to follow definite principles to do it.
Wow.
In other words, it's got to be in harmony with the law. You got to give more than you get. If you're trying to get, forget it.
Yeah.
Well, I got by myself and I thought, I'm doing something wrong. I was earning more money, but here I'm passing out. This is not normal. And it's like a little voice in my head said, if you can't clean all of them, don't clean any of them. So I got all dressed up. People now accuse me of sleeping in my suit. I wouldn't take a suit off. Didn't matter where I was. Because I knew the cleaners were tired, and I would go around. I got other people cleaning offices. Mm-hmm. And I knew pretty well where they'd be. So I dropped around, I'd bring coffee and donuts, and I would drop in and I would talk to them about goals. And then I'd go to the next person. But I always was dressed up because I knew how tired you get. And if I was in working clothes, they'd expect me to help them so they could finish and go home.
Interesting.
But when I had shiny shoes and a suit and shirt and tie, they didn't expect me to help them clean. So I'd go on to the next place and then the next place. And that's when I started to open offices. I went from Toronto to Montreal to Boston to Cleveland to Atlanta to London, England.
And you hired cleaners.
Everywhere I went.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had people cleaning.
What should someone think about if they're struggling financially right now, or they feel like they've been struggling for many years, and it feels like they're just surviving week after week, month after month. They're not sure how to get to that kind of sense of freedom for at least a 6-month runway or beyond. What should they start thinking about?
Do you know what you've just described? I believe the majority of people are living that way.
Yeah.
The majority. Now that's rather sad, but I think it's true. And it's because we only have one problem in the whole world, and that's ignorance. They're living in ignorance. They don't know that what they're doing is going to keep them where they are. And they keep doing it because they don't know how to change. They're overwhelmed with the debt. People are saying, I need the money. They haven't got it. They want to take their family on a vacation. They don't have the money to go. So they may borrow it and go anyway. Now they got more debt. They have to understand that they don't have to live that way. I wrote a book called You're Born Rich. The truth is you are. Most people are just a little short of money, but you are born rich in potential. Anybody can go to our site, go to bobproctor.com. You can download the book, You Were Born Rich, free. It won't cost you a cent. And chapter 2 is How Much Is Enough. It's described very well how to get out of debt. You got to create a debt repayment program where it's all done automatically. And then you focus on prosperity. You've got to have a financial goal. You've got to work toward it. And you've got to understand that you can earn more than you're earning. And wealthy people don't have one source of income. They have more than one. I was earning money all last night while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
You can actually earn more money when you're sleeping than you can spend when you're awake.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like a cute line, but it's true. There's no end to what we can earn. If you are not getting information from someone who is already wealthy, then you're probably getting information from the wrong people. Most people ask their brother-in-law, or the guy next door, or the girl they know, how do I earn more? Hell, if they knew, they'd be earning it. They don't know. And most people talk to people that don't know. Carlyle put it very well. He said he did not believe in the collective wisdom of individual ignorance. And that's where most people are getting it, from people that don't know any more than themselves. I think you have to go. That's why these seminars are so important today.
Yeah.
People have the opportunity to go and learn. Most people won't pay to go. I tell people, listen, you invest in this, it'll probably be, borrow the money to do it. It's probably the last time you'll ever have to borrow money.
Yeah.
Our seminars are not raw. It's not nothing. Our seminars teach people about themselves. It's like when Bill Gove said, if I want to be free, I got to be me. I'm thinking, I better know who me is. I didn't know who me was. I was doing a lot of things. I was doing them right, and I was earning money, but I didn't know who I was. I started to study me. And the more I know me, the better I know you. You only have to study yourself. You'll know what everybody, because we're all the same.
Yeah.
It's our behavior that's different, our results that are different.
I heard a friend of mine, Dean Graziosi, I don't know if he coined this or someone else said it, and he said it from someone else, but he said, those that pay attention. And when you invest in yourself, you're paying attention to.
I never heard that before, but that is the truth.
Those that pay attention. But if you don't pay for it, you're not going to pay as much attention. If you pay more, you'll pay more attention to learn.
I had an aunt and uncle who were as poor as church mice. I mean, they just didn't have anything. And they had a whole house full of kids. And I used to drop by their house periodically. I was doing very well, and I was teaching seminar. And I remember it was around Christmas time, and he was rushing around trying to get credit cards from some big stores so they could buy presents for the kids.
Yeah.
And I said, you know something? He said, never mind, next year will be different. I said, you know something, next year is going to be exactly the same as it is this year, because you never change you.
Wow.
I said, you should get into the seminars and learn something. I know something you don't know. Well, they came to the seminar. He got paid every 2 weeks. So that meant 3 times a year, I think, he'd get paid 3 times, maybe 4 times a year. He'd get paid 3 times in a month. That one pay was extra because they were budgeted for 2 pays. I made them pay to come to it.
Wow.
Something said I made them pay. And I think they thought I should have comped them into it. But you know, Mark thanked me, my aunt, I don't know how many times that I charged them. She said, we wouldn't have kept coming. I didn't even know what you were talking about. I was running seminars, it was 7 evenings from 7 to 10. It was running over a series of nights years ago. And she said, I wouldn't have kept coming. But she said, because we paid, I came.
Of course.
He's right. If they pay attention. That is so true.
That's it.
And if they don't,
You're not going to be, you're not going to care. When you hear something you don't like, this is not for me.
That's
Let me get
right.
out of here. I got something better to do.
Yeah.
Especially in LA, I want to go to the beach. This is too hard work.
Yeah.
It's confronting my ego. I don't need this.
I'm firmly convinced if a person doesn't understand a paradigm is nothing but a multitude of habits. They're programmed into your subconscious mind to control your behavior. It's got nothing to do with how smart you are. It's got nothing to do with what your formal education is. It's got nothing to do from which side of the tracks you come from. It has to do with your paradigm. The paradigm is a program in your subconscious mind. It's both genetic and environmental that's controlling your behavior. Everyone that can hear my voice knows how to do better than they're doing. And they may wonder, why don't I do it? It's because you're programmed to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
And until you change the program, nothing's going to change. Paradigm has to be changed.
I love that. What would you say are if you could share 3 key habits for people that if they want to continue to grow every day, be more prosperous, be more abundant, happier, joyful, healthier in their life, what are 3 key things, habits every day, not talking about morning routine, but just overall habits every single day? What should people be focusing on consistently?
They should study every day.
Study.
They should have a mentor, someone that has already accomplished what they dream about. They might not even know the person, but they could get introduced to them and ask them, what are half a dozen things I should do every day?
Yeah.
Ask them. They know. Most people are getting advice from people that don't know any more than themselves.
Yeah.
And the third one, you've definitely got to have a goal, and when you write it, you've already got it intellectually. So you operate intellectually, emotionally, and physically. Well, your intellectual mind, the second you decide on it, you've got it. It tells you in the Bible, before you speak, I'll hear you. It's because the thought always precedes the word. The second you get emotionally involved, you've got it emotionally.
Yep.
So you've got it intellectually, you've got it emotionally. It's only a period of time till you got it physically.
Be, do, have, yeah.
That's right. But the have comes in a period of time.
So it's not overnight?
Every seed has a gestation or an incubation period.
Yeah.
When a woman gets pregnant with a child, it takes 280 days.
Yeah.
The husband doesn't come home a month later and say, come on, where is it?
Right.
He waits, as James Allen said, as one who understands. He understands there's a gestation period. Where I come from, if you plant a seed for a carrot, it takes approximately 70 days for it to manifest. All physical seeds have a gestation or an incubation period. We know that now, but we didn't always know that. We weren't always aware. No one knows what the gestation period is for a spiritual seed, and an idea is a spiritual seed. But we do know that it operates by the same laws. And the laws of the universe are precise. They can be studied.
Yeah.
They can be understood. We operate by law. Our life is governed by laws. Like we know it's going to get dark tonight. We don't wonder if it is.
Yeah.
You know when the tide goes out, it's coming back. Winter never follows winter. We know these things. That's all expression of law. Well, when we bring our life into harmony with the laws, we're going to enjoy more of life.
Yeah.
If we fight it, we're going to lose.
Is there a specific area for you that you feel like you need more work on than others? Obviously all areas, but is there one?
Well, all of them, because my company's nowhere near where I want it. I picked up a pen way back in 1973. I was living in Glenview, Illinois. I had just left the Nightingale Conant Corporation. I worked with Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant for 5 years. And I sat down and I said, I'm going to build a company that operates all over the world. I had absolutely no idea how I was going to do that. But I knew if I could think it, I could do it. Because that's what all the great leaders have agreed on. They've disagreed on virtually everything else. We operate today, the Proctor Gallagher Institute operates in 88 different countries.
Wow.
We have consultants that teach our material, that represent us in 88 different countries. When we stream a program, we go into around 115 countries. Now, if you'd asked me, how are you going to do that when I started? No idea. But I did know this. If you set a goal and you know how to do it, the goal probably isn't any good.
Ooh.
It probably isn't any good.
Wow.
Because if you know how to do it, you're going to go sideways. It's a repeat performance.
Wow.
You got to go after something you have absolutely no idea how you're going to do it. Now, I've had the good fortune of working with Edmund Hillary. He was a beekeeper from Auckland, New Zealand. He was the first man to climb Mount Everest. He went there in 51 and he failed. He went back in 52 and he failed. But in 1953, he and Tenzing Norgay stood on top of the mountain. But he couldn't tell you till after he got there how he was going to do it. And nobody could tell him because nobody had ever done it.
Wow.
So the trick, pick a goal that you really want, but you have no idea how to do it. Now, there's got to be a big learning curve there, and I'm still learning.
Wow, that's inspiring. I love that. And hopefully you can find mentors who have done it, that can guide you, and you pick the right ones.
Right here, this author. These books behind me here. I've got, let's see here.
He's going on the hunt. I like it.
No. Here's one here. This is an original my son gave me as a gift. The Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. It is a heavy one. Here's another one. The Dory Lectures on Mental Science. These are written by a Thomas Troward. They were written back around 1910, 1912.
Wow.
They are incredible. And they are my mentors today.
Wow.
He is my mentor.
If you could only recommend 5 books that the world, no other books would ever exist except these 5 books for people to read for the rest of eternity, and there would be no other books, hypothetical question, what 5 books would you recommend for people?
Think and Grow Rich. As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. I'd recommend my own book, You Were Born Rich. Everybody's born rich. Most people are a little short of money, that's all.
Ooh.
Well, they should get into this, the Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. And then I'm going to give you one that's a long ways away from that, U Square by Price Pritchett.
Okay.
It's a little tiny book. Price Pritchett's is a consultant over in Dallas. He's written a little book, U Square. It's on quantum physics, quantum leaps. It's one of the best books I've ever read.
Wow.
These books are incredible. And it's funny, Troward taught me, he said, if you come to a point where you can't learn anything from somebody, you go inside. He said, go to the Fonset Arrigo, go to the fountain and source, go inside. Now, I mean this in all humility. I've been studying this longer than anybody I know.
Yeah.
There's probably people study it longer than me, but I've been studying it for 59 years, and I study it every day. I don't know anybody that teaches what we teach like we teach it. I've had absolutely incredible teachers. So I don't go run around looking for teachers. I've got Troward. What he's written is so rich in truth. He's probably one of the greatest authors of the last 500 years.
Wow.
But the trick, though, Lewis, is you got to keep studying.
Mm-hmm.
And you only will keep studying if you're going after something you have no idea how to get there. But you know you can get there. The way there will be shown as you go after it. Step by step, it will come to you.
Why isn't it shown to us before we start going after it? Why does it take us?
You wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't understand it. See, the purpose of a goal is not to get. It's not to reach the goal. It's the awareness that you develop as you go after it. You're learning who you are. It's becoming aware of who you are.
Yeah.
I was in a seminar years and years ago, and there was a speaker, Bill Gove. Bill Gove was considered the Frank Sinatra of public speakers. He was incredible. He had a handheld mic, and he's looking at the audience, and he said, if I want to be free, I've got to be me. Not the me I think you think I should be. Not the me I think my kids think I should be. Not the me I think my wife thinks I should be. If I want to be free, I've got to be me. He said, I better know who me is.
Wow.
Now, I had a lot of this information at that time. This was years ago. But I was shy. And I wanted to teach it. I was afraid to stand up and ask a question in front of an audience. And so I made up my mind, I was not only going to learn to speak like him, I was going to get him to teach me. Now, he became a mentor of mine. And I realized then, if I take the areas where I'm a little 6 bits short, I'm just not really very good, and I didn't go to school, so there's a lot of areas, I'm going to get the very best, and I'm going to do exactly what they tell me. And that's what I did when the man who gave me this book, he said, do exactly what I'm telling you. I did exactly what he said. 15 years or so ago, well, first of all, he became my mentor and very good friend right up until he passed away. Our company was having financial problems all the time. And I could earn all kinds of money, but I don't know how to manage it. Didn't know how to run a company. I mean, I wasn't designed for that. And I didn't want to learn it. I didn't even like the subject. But what you need, you will attract. And we had a lady come to the seminar, was a securities attorney. She fell in love with what we were doing. She was a full partner in a company. And over a period of time, she became our business partner. She owns half the company. But she runs the company. She's the president, chief executive of the company. I mentioned to her last time, you should get her on for an interview sometime because she is a fascinating person. But she does a phenomenal job here.
Yeah.
Well, so I have found in the areas that I'm not very good at, I get the very best. And I work with them. I don't try and learn what they're teaching. I get them to do that. I get somebody else to do something else because it's going to take me to where I want to go. I have a young guy here that runs our studio. He's the director of the studio. He's absolutely brilliant. He set a goal when he was 13 to work with me.
I remember this.
He was living in Manchester in England, and he watched The Secret, and he saw me. He said, I'm going to work with him. 13 years later, he's here in the studio, and he runs this place.
I love that.
He's incredible. He can record and send it from anywhere in the world. He can come in here and do everything. And I found that's one of the secrets of getting to where you want to go. You need help. You got to have help. You got to have a lot of help.
You're saying we can't just do it all on our own, Bob?
Never going to do it on your own. You won't go very far if you're doing it alone.
I'm curious. I feel like you've got, again, decades of wisdom and knowledge from history that you lived through and experienced personally firsthand. You said you grew up during the Second World War. What was the lesson you learned in the Second World War at that time that people should know about today during this time? Two different crises.
Well, it's only in retrospect that I learned these things because you go back and I have to go back. and everything was rationed. So people were getting accustomed to live on lack and limitation. And it was part of the programming. And in looking back, the great lesson is don't let what's going on program you. In fact, it's a good point to bring out right now because of this pandemic that's going on. We must not let this program us. This does not have to define us, doesn't have to dictate where we're going to go. It's got nothing to do with our destiny. As a kid, everything was rationed. I remember chewing gum was rationed. In fact, there's a good story. I'm going to take the time to tell you about it. We would go to the store. Our father was in Europe fighting, and we would send care packages every now and then. They would mail them, and they would get through, and we'd have pictures, of the family and all the stuff. And we'd put a package of gum in sometimes. We would be at the store, and if they put a package of gum out, it would just be one little box. It would be gone like that.
Wow.
Because you couldn't buy gum during the war. Wrigley's did not make gum during the war. They couldn't. And one of us would hold the gum while the other one home, see if there was enough money to buy it.
Yeah.
Because there might not have been enough money, we'd have to put it back. During the Second World War, Wrigley's could not make gum. The basic ingredient, apparently, for making gum comes from the Philippine Islands. The Japanese, who were in charge of the Philippine Islands, they had occupied the Philippine Islands, you couldn't get in to get the gum. Wrigley seemed to know that the war would be over, they'd be able to get the stuff, we'd win the war, and he'd get the stuff to build the gum. He never stopped advertising, buy Wrigley spearmint gum, all during the Second World War, even though they couldn't make it. A great lesson in there about advertising. People wouldn't believe that lived through the Second World War, wouldn't believe that they couldn't make gum then. Because he just kept enough and he'd leak a little bit out every now and then to different places.
Wow.
Great lesson in advertising there.
Wow. It's kind of like...
but I think the greatest lesson that I've learned is looking back. My mother, God bless her, she was a special woman. She did not let that control her. And I think any really good qualities I've got for growing and building came from her. She raised 3 of us on her own, and God only knows how she did it. She was like a magician because she sure didn't have any help. But she did it. And she instilled us that if you want it, you can get it.
That's beautiful.
But,
it sounds like you were, holding Wrigley's gun back then, just like people are doing with hand sanitizer right now. So that was this.
Yeah, but you see, people are permitting this to program them right now. If you're not thinking, this stuff's going right into your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And whatever goes in there, repetition over and over and over becomes part of our behavior. And it's, you can't deny it. It's there. Absolutely refuse to let it control you. Understand you can be thinking of how to win, how to get it done, how to go and do better. And you may have to adapt, you may have to change the game, but you can change the game. We are probably going to change the way we operate forever over the next few months. But we're prepared to do that. That's what Sandy was holding the meeting today with all the company. She was teaching them all. We got to get together. We got to bring our mind together. We've got to understand that this doesn't control us. We control us.
You mentioned, I think one of the faculties you said was the most challenging is imagination. Is that one of the most challenging for people?
It's not the most challenging. It's something we really want to gain an understanding of, because most people use their imagination, they use it the wrong way. They imagine what won't work. They imagine something bad happening.
What should we imagine more often every day?
We should imagine you should see yourself where you want to be. You got to live there. There's a great book. You may be familiar with Stella Adler's book, The Art of Acting. Oh gosh, you got to get it. Stella Adler was a great acting teacher. She was a method acting teacher. She studied under Stanislavski, the Russian acting teacher that originated method acting.
Okay.
Marlon Brando wrote the foreword in her book. He was the first method actor to reach superstardom.
Okay.
And he wrote the foreword in her book. Now, Stella Adler never actually wrote a book. A man named Kissel took all of her teaching, all of her lessons for teaching, and he put them into a book. So when you read her book, you're going to her acting classes.
Mm-hmm.
And like Shakespeare said, we're all actors, the world's the stage, and that's true. Well, when you reach a goal, you're going to act like you're already there. It's already happened intellectually the second you think about it. It's already happened emotionally when you're emotionally involved with it. So it's only a period of time until it manifests in physical form.
Right.
But because it's not in physical form, we act like we haven't got it yet.
Yeah.
Well, so that's why most people stay stuck, because they're acting like they haven't got it yet. Or if I can't act like that, Lewis would see that I haven't got that result, he'll think I'm phony. I got to quit worrying about what Lewis thinks and start concentrating on what Bob thinks. And so you see yourself, your imagination, you got to be that person. Goethe said that, great philosopher. He said, before you can do something, you first must be something. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be it intellectually. You've got to be it emotionally. It's like Solomon says, as a person thinks in their heart, the emotional mind. Well, it's only a period of time then until it manifests physically. That's one of the first laws of the universe, is the perpetual transmutation of energy. Energy is moving into form, always. To form, moving into form, through form, back into form again. So we cause it all to happen the way we think and the way we stay locked into ideas.
How should people be developing their imagination on a daily basis in a positive way?
Well, I think they should take time to image what they want. I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher, who's a brilliant woman, and she rides horses, gaited horses. Mm-hmm. And she's in Kentucky right now in big shows there. Mm-hmm. She images herself as a world champion. Every day, she takes the time and she sees herself as a world champion. She sees herself getting the roses, getting the whole thing. And that's the way you should do it. I think you build the image of what you want. I mean, you obviously imaged this studio before you ever built it.
Right.
I mean, everything you see here was part of the image in your mind. But everything you create twice. Once in here, once out here. So you never get an original painting. You always get a duplicate. The picture's in here.
Wow.
So we have to see ourselves with what we want here. Now we've got enormous deterrent in our paradigm. We're conditioned genetically and environmentally. And that conditioning is controlling most people's lives. That's why brilliant people are broke. Brilliant people are unhappy. Brilliant people never really accomplish very much. They're absolutely brilliant, but their paradigm is controlling them. It's all about intellect. They're smart people. But you got to consider where we come from. A little particle of energy from mom, a little particle of energy from dad comes swimming along. That's the nucleus of us. Then that goes on for 280 days, attracting more energy until you make your debut on the planet. And then you're programmed environmentally by your environment. So everything that's going on is going right into your subconscious mind. So you come out, you're programmed genetically. We don't know how far it goes back, 4 or 5 generations possibly. Like when I was a young man, I had red hair. My mother didn't have red hair. My dad didn't have red hair. I got a brother and sister, and they don't have red hair. Because you think, well, but my mother's father and all his brothers had red hair. So sometimes it jumps a generation. That's why we look like our relatives. It's genetic conditioning. And then there's environmental conditioning. We know almost all welfare recipients are 4th, 5th generation welfare recipients. So this is passed down from generation to generation. Now, unfortunately, we're all exactly the same. We got exactly the same potential. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. But that perfection never expresses itself properly because of this paradigm. It's conditioning in our subconscious mind. You see so many brilliant people and they don't make it. I had a good friend of mine, Milt Campbell. He won the gold medal in decathlon.
Wow. I was a decathlete.
Were you aware?
I was an All-American decathlete.
Well,
yeah.
Milt won in Melbourne in '56.
Wow. Okay.
And he won in '52 in Helsinki. When,
Wow.
Bob Mathias won his second gold. He won the gold in '48 and then in '52.
Wow.
Milt told me, if he told me once, he told me 1,000 times. Every time I was with him. You know, there was a lot of athletes in schools that were better than me, but they quit.
Yeah.
Well, our paradigms get us to quit things
Why?
because of programming. You're programmed. You have to ask yourself, why don't they do that? I did a lot of work with the Prudential of America. In fact, I got stuck in the insurance companies for a number of years. I was so effective at what I was doing. And we raised their sales by, one VP said over $1 billion. And all I was doing, getting them to change their paradigm. I was having them change the way they worked. A paradigm, a culture is a paradigm. Every country has a culture.
Mm-hmm.
Every family has a culture. Every company has a culture. Well, in the insurance industry, years ago, they had what they called debit agents. They went around collecting the money. And there would be a little book like the one you're working with. It would have a record in there. I remember we had a book on top of our ice box. It was right near our back door. Mr. Spenceley was the insurance man. When I was a little kid, he'd come in, and there was a little book, a little box with some money, and there's always just pennies.
Right.
And he would collect the debit, mark the book, and he'd be on his way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the insurance business operated. They were called debit agents.
Wow.
Well, then as time moved along, people started to sign a little cheap sheet of paper or something, and they would automatically draw it out of your bank account.
Yeah.
But the agents didn't change.
Mm-hmm.
The agents would just go and sell at night when mom and dad were both there, because you couldn't sell mom if dad wasn't there. You couldn't sell dad if mom wasn't there. This was a programming. So here we are in the 70s. Agents are still going to their office every morning, and they wouldn't go out and sell anybody, because you sell at night. They collected their debit through the day. There was no debit to collect. This had been, for years they were still doing this. And I'd ask them, I'd say, why do you go to your office? Well, you have to go to the office. And they'd be there, and I said, why do you have to go to your office? Well, because we have to go to the office. They didn't know why they had to go.
Yeah.
Then they go to lunch, they go with another agent. I said, did you ever sell another agent any insurance? No. I said, what the hell are you going to lunch with them for? I got them to do this. I said, you got to be like this. You got to be skin to skin with the person before 9 a.m., and you have to ask every person to buy at least $100,000 worth of insurance. You don't even have to sell them. Just ask them to buy. Well, I got them doing that. They were selling more $100,000 policies in a week than they previously sold in a year in almost every office.
Wow.
You see, that's conditioning. That's paradigm. That's the way they were working. They've been doing it for years. Nobody ever thought to change it. Largest insurance company in the world. And the head office was trying to figure out what I was doing, because wherever I went, the sales went crazy. I was showing them how to change paradigm. Your paradigm is your conditioned behavior.
How do we know when we need to change our own paradigm?
You always need to change your own paradigm.
How often are you changing yours?
I'm working on it right now, every day.
Really?
Yeah, I work at it every day. But you should only try and change one or two things at a time.
Don't try to change everything at once.
Well, you know what your paradigm is. Just study your own behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Think of your results. You want to improve your results, don't you?
Sure.
You probably want to earn more money.
Sure.
You probably want the show to be bigger than it is.
Sure, yeah.
Well, how are you going to do that?
You got to change the paradigm.
That's right. You got to change your habitual way of dealing with these things. So you take a look at the results and say, what do I want to change? It's the results are an expression of the paradigm, not the intellect. Right. See, the conscious mind is where all our intellectual information is. You know how to do better than you're doing. You know how to do better than you're doing.
Sure.
I know how to do better than that. Why aren't we doing it? The subconscious is programmed. It's your conscious mind where the intellect is, and that's where our knowing is. Person knows, but they're not doing what they know. Just say, why do you do that? I don't know. Well, you know better. I know. Why are you doing it? I don't know. Well, I know. It's their paradigm controls their behavior.
Yeah.
So you take a look at your results and you say, what's causing that? So you've got to take back your behavior pattern. Why are you doing that? Because you're programmed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the last time we did a paradigm shift seminar in Los Angeles was a number 3 or 4 months ago. We gave everybody a ring binder. It's a damn thing's about that thick. And on every page is the same. At the top of the page, you write 10 things you're grateful for.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a statement that you write. I am so happy and grateful now that I know my spiritual DNA is perfect. And that perfection is within me. Every morning, I look for ways to improve my paradigm. I have to write that with my left hand. I'm right-handed. I'm on my 41st day today.
Writing left-handed?
Writing left-handed.
Why?
It's changing the paradigm. I could be just as proficient with my left hand as I am with my right, but I got to change my paradigm. I'm programmed. Now, when you're writing, you just write. You don't think. That's why graphical analysts can tell a lot about your personality through your handwriting.
Yeah. Of sloppy handwriting.
If you're
Don't
writing
read my...
with your left hand, and you're right-handed or your non-dominant hand, you got to consciously pay attention to every stroke, every move your hand's making. And the second you stop, it looks like it was Chinese art that you were drawing.
Right.
Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you're looking for more greatness in your life, then check out this next video right here.
We only have one problem in the whole world, and that's ignorance. They're living in ignorance. They don't know that what they're doing is going to keep them where they are. And they keep doing it because they don't know how to change. They're overwhelmed with the debt.